Hello. So this video is for Joe Smith, who asked me if I knew any other books by John McPhee that were food related, about either cheese, chocolate, or tea. And there's no other John McPhee books that come to mind for me, but what I did think of immediately is an essay by George Orwell. It's called A Nice Cup of Tea, and it was published in the Evening Standard in 1946. And it's a short essay about what George Orwell considers the proper method for making a nice cup of tea. And he says there's 11 bullet points. And he makes a point to say that it's controversial. He has a couple points that are controversial. So first of all, he says for a proper cup of tea, it needs to be Indian tea, not Chinese tea. And a few of the distinctions that he made that I think were at least humorous. One is that you need to use loose leaves, not constrained by any bag or any kind of container. They need to be whole loose leaves floating around in the water. And he says that some people think that the leaves are poisonous, and he disagrees. He says that you can consume vast quantities of leaves before there's any ill effect. He also says that you need to have the water at a full boil. You need to be pouring boiling water into your teapot. And then after you have your boiling water in the teapot, you need to give it a good stir, or ideally you would shake up the whole pot and then let the leaves settle. The most controversial point that he makes is that you should add milk after you've poured the tea, which apparently there's two camps. There's some people that say you put the milk in first and then pour the tea in. He says by putting the tea in first, you have better judgment with how much milk you're putting in. Also, no sugar. He says you're drinking tea, it's supposed to be bitter. If you're adding sugar, you're basically just drinking sugar water. And he says you might as well add salt and pepper while you're at it. But it's a short little essay. It's really good. He has another essay. It's called In Defense of English Cooking, which is also quite good. I'm a very big fan of George Orwell's essays in general. I also love his novels, mostly his like reportage novels or his historical novels, like The Road to Wigan Pier, Keep the Apodistra Flying, I think that's how you say it. One of my favorite novels by Orwell is Down and Out in Paris and London. And while I'm thinking about it, I'll just tell you a memorable episode. I can't remember the characters' names or anything, but the main character in Down and Out in Paris and London, he's at his lowest point, and he's completely impoverished and destitute. He's shacked up in this seedy hotel, hasn't eaten in days, and he's like on the verge of dying. And he sees on the wall a portrait of a saint, and he gets on his hands and knees and he prays to the saint for some kind of salvation. And almost as soon as he's done, there's a knock at the door, and it's a friend of his that just is like popping in to give him back money that he had borrowed at some point. So the friend comes in, and he has money, and he has a loaf of bread, and he has a bottle of wine, and the main character feels that he's been saved, his prayers have been answered, and he tells his friend, he says, I prayed to the saint on the hotel wall, the portrait, and my prayers have been answered. And the friend looks at the portrait and says, that's not a saint. That's the famous prostitute that had been running this hotel. And he goes, you're praying to a whore. Anyway, it's a great, Down and Out in Paris, London. It's a great book. Lots of funny scenes like that. There's other things about taking in Paris, like how they would take rotten meat and just slather it in sauces and ship it out in restaurants. Anyway, off topic, but A Nice Cup of Tea by George Orwell. Leave a comment if you would like. Joe Smith, I hope you found it interesting. It's a short read. And thank you for watching. Bye.